What's up guys, it's Eddie Fitz and today we're going to be talking about the Cape Wrath Trail. This is something I've wanted to do for such a long time. I've completed the West Highland Way twice, Skye Trail, Great Glen, a number of other long distance walks in Scotland, but this is one that I've definitely been wanting to do forever. Obviously we just came out of lockdown not that long ago. Lucky enough for me, this has then allowed me to then save up some holidays. We've not really got too much planned. We can't actually travel abroad. So for me it was a no-brainer to go and walk the Cape Wrath Trail. Starting from the busy town of Fort William, the Cape Wrath Trail is an unmarked and sometimes trailless route. With every step north, you reach the remote wilderness of the Cape Wrath Lighthouse. Hopefully, I will get a photo there right at the end of this trip. Hopefully my legs can make it all the way through. Obviously we've just come out of lockdown, so probably not been on as many hikes as I would have hoped, but I've been trying to do a bit of running and the odd hike here and there since we've been back. So fingers crossed I get there. I won't be taking on this challenge alone. My dad is going to be attempting to walk the Cape Wrath Trail with me. He keeps saying it's going to be his last ever long distance walk and this is going to be the biggie that ticks it off, but I definitely think he's going to do more. He's done 6 already. I think he's actually trumped me by doing the West Highland Way a 3rd time, so I don't think he's going to stop after this. So for the 2 years, we've been planning this for quite a long time. Through lockdown we had plenty of time to look at the different trail. We've been watching loads of YouTube videos and something that really inspired me was just seeing the amount of people that go and just take on challenges like this and don't hold back. For this trail, obviously this is an unmarked and trailless sort of route, which makes it a little bit harder because when it comes to the map reading, you need to know your skills. So one of the first steps for us was to get the maps in and begin to plan this journey. Obviously the Cape Wrath Trail is slightly different in terms of the path. You can take whatever way you wish, so there's lots of alternative routes. To the guidebook, to Walk Highlands, to the OS maps, but we've kind of used the maps and what we've done is we've basically highlighted a route all the way up. So we're going to be walking from Fort William and take the Knoydart route to Glenfinnan. Obviously I'm going to be taking my camera and my equipment to film the whole challenge, get lots of photos. So one thing that I would love to do is just basically take my time and make sure I capture as much as possible. So you've heard how I've planned and came up with that idea for the Cape Wrath Trail with me and my dad. However, what you're probably most wondering is what kit am I going to be taking. So what we're going to do is we're going to run through a little bit of the equipment that I'll be taking. Obviously most people's equipment is fairly light, but I'm going to be taking quite a bit of camera gear so that I can capture the whole trip, which that then means extra batteries, SD cards, things like that. So these things start to add up and bring a lot of weight. So as much as I'm trying to get lightweight, you know, with my kit, I'm also trying to be fair and make sure that I take enough stuff that actually I enjoy the trip and I remember it. So the first thing was sitting here in the MSR Hubba Hubba NX2. The other night I got the chance to test the tent. I think it's always good to test your equipment, so we're going to see that video just now. So we're out here in the back garden testing out the new tent that we got. It's the MSR Hubba Hubba. We've got the MSR Hubba Hubba NX2. Taiso provided it for the trip, so we just want to make sure that everything works. We know how to set it up. It's always important to, you know, come out in the back garden, try and test it. Make sure that you know how to put the tent up before you actually go into the field and you're struggling in the Cape Wrath Trail on day 1 and it's pelting down with rain. So always try and test it in a good environment when you know that you've got a lot of time. You can get understanding how everything works, other different features. So one thing that's really good about this tent is there's plenty of space to put our bags in to make sure that they stay nice and dry. And as you can see, there's plenty of room in here for both of us, which is fantastic. So it's definitely a perfect tent for the trip, and I can't wait to try it out. So like I says in that video, setting up the tent, getting your things prepared is definitely the best thing to do before any trip. Next up is this bag. It's crazy to think that I'm going to be living at this bag for the next 2 to 3 weeks. The main reason why I really like this bag is the hip belt is flexible, so it moves as you're walking. It's got a pole that comes all the way down to the sides. Although this is a little bit heavier, just because of that sort of like sort of flex carry system, it just makes it a little bit better in the back and everything. So as much as I would say go lightweight, sometimes you've got to think to yourself, is it going to be comfortable to be going that light? A great bag, and I've used it quite a lot of the time, so I'll be taking that. Pins and needles. So we've got the Deuter sleeping bag, and this is the Deuter Exosphere, and it weighs 995 grams. Normally when you're sitting in a sleeping bag, you cannot cross your legs. This is so cool. This is the best thing about this sleeping bag, is it's just so wriggly. Next up, we've got the Vango Aeotrum sleeping mat. If I'm right in saying this, Aeotrum means lightweight in Gaelic, and this is quite a lightweight sleeping mat. The best thing about this is, like, you know, it's about the size of a can of juice. You can see, just as I've got really small hands, this is tiny. So this weighs at 410 grams again, with a 5 centimetre thickness. So it's a really good sleeping mat. I've tried it out. So when you are starting to buy equipment for these kind of trips and treks, sometimes it's better to invest and go a little bit more expensive and think to yourself, are you going to use this for a long period of time? Then it might be better to invest in a good sleeping bag, a good sleeping mat and things like that. So definitely check these kind of things out. I'll link everything below so you can see the kit that I'm taking, click into it, you can check the weights and things like that. And we've got the X-Bed pillow. I'm just really like a bad sleeper, so things like this I know is just for comfort, but actually for me it's going to allow me to get a bit of a better night's sleep in the tent. And this is where it comes down to the fact that I ain't going lightweight, I'm taking a pillow. Not everybody would take a pillow and they would see this as, like, you know, a lot of weight, but actually this little bit of extra weight is going to allow me to get a better sleep, in turn then making my day a lot better as days go on. I don't want to be tired for this trip. Oh. So the gold dust for this trip is what's in this little bag, and it is my midginette. I actually have 2 midginettes. I've got this one that just goes over my head, which is the Life Systems midginette, and then I've got the best thing ever, which is a midge mosquito jacket. So basically it's like a full jumper, works the same as this. I quite like this just in terms of like when you're walking through the day, if you stop for lunch or whatever, but at night time I'll wear the midge jacket. Just because it means that, you know, like if a really warm day or you've been walking for quite a long time, then you can just put that midge jacket on, take your t-shirt off, let yourself air out, rather than, you know, like having like many layers, jumpers and stuff, trying to hide away through the midges. And if it is a good day, that is the worst thing ever, when you're just like sweating. So the midge jacket is the best thing ever. I'll link that as well. So in terms of map reading, firstly, the very first thing that we actually bought for the trip was the guidebook. It's always the first thing that we invest in, is the guidebook, because it kind of just gives a bit of a, you know, like, we're doing this, we've bought the book, so let's actually start planning for this trip. We then have a good number of maps. We've got the OS maps, just because the best thing about the OS maps is when you're on these trips, you can actually work it a lot better in terms of where you are in the map. We've used different maps before, and sometimes, you know, if you've got the map with the trail, what you tend to find is if you're standing on top of a mountain and trying to navigate yourself, it's only giving you a little small part of the trail, whereas obviously if you take the OS maps, then you can see all around you, so you can start to like waypoint to different parts of the mountains around you. There's some other little bits of equipment that ain't here, so this isn't everything, but it gives you a bit of an idea of the stuff that I'll be taking. In terms of drinking, I ain't taking a bottle. Bottles are actually quite heavy. I was going to take my water well bottle, but then I realised I actually have this smaller little package. It's really light, so it was a better alternative to the bottle. And we're going to be taking this a Sawyer Mini for water, so there's plenty of water in this trip that you can just like get. So water, tablets and the Sawyer Mini. So in terms of the trip, 240 miles, quite a number of days, weeks, we'd need to fuel ourselves. So for the trip we're going to be taking the Summit to Eat meals. I think we've got 16, so we're kind of assuming that we'll take 16 days for the trip, maybe a little bit less, maybe a little bit more, but we've then got enough meals to sort of fuel us for the day. We're going to be walking somewhere between 15-18 miles, maybe sometimes less, sometimes more, so it's quite a number of miles each day. Definitely need to make sure that you fuel yourself up. We've got lots of snacks as well as the foods, so it's something that I would always recommend, making sure that you have plenty of, because you don't want to get halfway through the day and be hungry again. The extra bit of weight in terms of the food is what's going to make you have a better trip, enjoy each day. I'm definitely somebody that gets grumpy when I don't have enough food, so I've packed quite a lot of food and definitely a lot of snacks. Another thing to mention is in terms of the trip, we planned, rather than taking all our food with us, so it'd be quite a lot, so that would be 16 meals, 16 lunch, 16 breakfast. It would just be a lot. The bag would then be filled with just these alone. So what we've done is we're going to take 8, we're going to take half the amount of meals. The other 8 meals, what we're going to do is we're going to send them up to Kinlochnawe post office, and then it means on the 8th day when we get to Kinlochnawe, whether it's earlier or later, what we'll do is we'll make sure that we can then stop by at the post office, pick up that parcel, and then anything we need to drop off or send back that we've maybe not used in terms of weight, then we can always do that. So next up is camera equipment. Obviously I'm filming on the Canon 6D Mark II, which I'll be taking. It is a pretty heavy camera, but it's just a camera that I use and I'm pretty comfortable with. I'll be taking a number of lenses, so this is a 70-200 f4. So obviously camera equipment is something that I've taken a lot on trips and actually started investing in some extra things in terms of making it a little bit more comfortable. One thing I'd invest in is the Peak Design capture clip. So this is something that I saw a lot of time when I went away travelling and stuff. I always noticed that people had their cameras on their shoulder, just hanging on the bag strap here. And I was like, that looks so cool. That means their camera is really handy, it's here on their shoulder, it's easy for any opportunity. You know, if an opportunity comes up, then your camera is at hand, easy to grab, rather than it being away in your backpack and you're like rushing around trying to get it. So the Peak Design capture clip, this bottom plate goes onto the camera, and then obviously this goes into the bag. Just means it's then easy enough. And I've got the 6D Mark II, which is quite a heavy camera, and it's been absolutely amazing. Obviously now that I've said it, it will probably end up falling off and something will happen, but it's never happened yet, so fingers crossed. I've not jinxed it. In terms of clothing, I've got this sort of Berghaus Extreme jacket, that's waterproof, and then I've got this sort of Gore-Tex trousers. These have been great pieces of equipment to have. Obviously you want to be as dry as possible, so making sure that you've got a good waterproof equipment, that your boots are waterproof. And then in terms of t-shirts, I'm going to take these trousers and just take 2 t-shirts, 2 boxers, 2 socks. One that I'll be wearing on the day and the other that I'll sort of have fresh for night time to change into. And then at night time I'll then clean a pair and then they're ready for the next day. So just kind of alternating. Obviously if you want to take more t-shirts or whatever, that's totally fine. It's just totally up to you what you take. I'm going to probably stick with 2, maybe 3. we'll just see. So that's obviously most of the equipment that I'll be taking. There is a couple of other bits and bobs, but I'll link all the stuff that I'm taking below in this video. So if you want to see any of the extra stuff that I'm taking, I'll link everything there. So it means that you can check it out, you can see the different weights, like I says, and I'll tell you the exact weight of this. I ain't too sure. When I did weigh it, just before I added in the breakfast, it was weighing somewhere around 14 kilograms. So that's quite heavy in terms of kit, but that's including everything. That's the camera gear, the food, all the equipment that I'll be taking. So it's, you know, it's definitely going to be heavy and it's going to be challenging. I know that it's going to be challenging, and the lighter that you go, the easier. But for me personally, I'm just taking a couple extra things like the camera gear, and totally aware that it bulks up the bag, but I want to capture this as much as possible. So in terms of the trip, one thing that I really want to do is be able to capture videos like this and hopefully share this with you guys so that you can plan and prepare for your Cape Wrath trip. Maybe you're setting off in the West Highland Way, or you're setting away into some other big expedition. Hopefully seeing videos like this will inspire you to be able to go and do these trips for yourself. And like I says, you know, stop thinking about it and actually just go for it. Buy the guidebook, get ready, start to prepare your stuff. Pack again, and you'll be sort of ready to go. And then it means that when you come back, you can start to evaluate and say, actually, I don't need that, or I would like to invest in something new. So that's what I've done over the years, is I've started to see that actually there's a better sleeping mat, there's a better tent, better sleeping bag. There's, you know, we used to take this sort of like heavier meals, but now we've got these that are really lightweight that we never knew about before. So if you're watching this video, hopefully you catch all this stuff before you spend like too much money on like small things that ain't actually worth it. I don't know if that's it.
Uh-oh.
What?
That's not filmed.
Are you for real?
I'm kidding.
Why did you say that?
It's just a joke.
That's not funny.
It would be a good blooper.
I hope you've enjoyed this video and it gives you a little bit of insight into my Cape Wrath Trail journey. Obviously this is just a packing and preparation kit video. I'm going to be filming the whole journey from start to finish. Hopefully I make it to the finish, that is. So make sure to stay tuned, hit the like button, comment, subscribe, turn on that notification bell so that you don't miss out on any of those videos. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Wait for it. Like this. It's so good.